All right, and welcome everyone to our final live session for DES 104. I can't believe how fast these mods go by. You guys probably feel the same way, especially at the beginning of your program. I felt like such a whirlwind at the beginning of my program, and then it slowed down a little towards, the middle there, and then at the end then it was done. So hopefully, everything will just speed along for you. And before you know it, you guys will be finished and you'll have your degrees and you'll get started in your careers and everything will be awesome, right? Okay, so just a reminder on my telephone hours, roughly Monday through Wednesday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time to 2 p.m. Mountain Time. But you can email me anytime. You can text me. I like to think that I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Week 4 assignments. So week 4, end of the course. Assignments cannot be turned in late. The course will turn into a pumpkin. It will lock you out. It will not let you upload. If there is anything that goes wrong when you are uploading your files in week 4, email the file to me. As long as it has been emailed to me and I receive that email by Sunday morning when I go in and grade, which I'm sure you guys have seen, I usually go in and grade relatively early on Sundays, then I will grade it. Just you got to get the file over to me. You do have a discussion this week, and your original discussion post is due Wednesday at midnight. Don't forget to respond to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday, and also weeks 1 and 2 are still open, so if you have any missing work, please get in there and do that. If you want to resubmit any work for a higher grade, those resubmissions are due by tomorrow, Tuesday at midnight. Our last multi-session is going to be tomorrow. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you're having any help, if you're having any difficulties and you need some help, please make sure that you come in and get some extra help. I'm going to try my best to open up my Zoom room on Wednesday and Thursday as well. I'll try to have it open on Friday, but I usually go visit my mother on Fridays, and she was away in California and hasn't seen my kids in about 2 weeks, so there's a good chance I will be at her house on Friday. But if I have to, I will try and bring my computer with me. But again, please don't rely on me for Friday just in case. The Student Success Center will be open on Friday, and I will be available via text and email. So our agenda for today. So again, late submissions and grading. I had everything that had been submitted over the weekend has been graded, so your grades are in there. And as far as missing work, if you are currently not passing the course, you have an email from me, your own email with your own personalized game plan that I've sent you. So please go into your messages in the course, which is right here, your inbox. If there's a whole big number there, that means that you have not been reading your messages, and that's the way I communicate with you. They do shoot over to your email, but you should go in there and clear that out too. And I've sent everyone who is not passing a detailed plan on how to pass this course, and it's different for everybody. So make sure that you go in and you read over my plan for you. We're going to go over our discussion today. There's going to be an assignment demo, and then I'll give you some tips for the assessment as well. So anything for week 3 that was submitted on time has been graded. Late submissions over the weekend are graded. More late and resubmissions will be graded as I'm able to get in there and get to it. And everything will be graded by the end of the mod. So be sure that you're following instructions. Don't waste precious points or time, not doing things correctly because you're not reading through the instructions. So make sure that when you are submitting your files that you're submitting the correct file formats. I kind of went over in the announcements, I think in week 1, why we save in the correct format. Make sure you have the correct file name, and again, make sure you're following instructions. If you want work to be resubmitted for a higher grade, it needs to be submitted to me by tomorrow night at midnight. So let's look at it this way. If you did not do your work yet for week 3 and you submit it to me on Wednesday, that's already past the resubmission deadline. You will not get a chance to resubmit, but that's kind of the gamble that you take with submitting late work. So that's kind of what that is. Also, week 4 can only be submitted once, so make sure that you're looking everything over before you submit it. If you already did submit it and you're like, oh wait, I realize I did something wrong, I need to fix something, get in touch with me as soon as you can, so that way I'm aware, and you can re-upload it before I grade it. So let's talk a little bit about learning and using Photoshop. You know, why are you taking this class? It's kind of a, simple question, but there's a lot of thought that can go into that answer. Are you taking this class just to get a grade? Are you taking it to get a grade and a degree? Are you trying to learn some tools that you can use in your career? The goal for the classes, even though we want to see a high GPA, we definitely do. But it can't just be, the end all goal can't be to say, I want to get 120 points on my assignment. Do you understand what you needed to learn in your assignment? Because that's what's going to take you from being a student to being able to do graphic design as a career. You need to be able to do more than just follow a demo and turn in the assignment correctly. Because when you get out into the field, I'm not going to be there to, answer an email as to what something is. And there's going to be times out in the field where you're not going to know what you're doing. I mean, it happens. Seriously. It happens to me all the time. But you need to know how to be proactive and look up those things that you don't understand. You need to learn, how to use critical thinking to solve those problems. Graphic design is a lot of critical thinking. It's taking information and putting it together in a logical order that makes sense. So ultimately, the goal of this class and all of your classes in the future is for you to be able to use these tools on your own in your career. And in order to do that, you're going to need to practice more on the outside of just these projects. You can do Adobe and lynda.com tutorials. You can watch YouTube tutorials. There's so much more than just the in-school element. I can tell you this from experience. I went to school for graphic design while I worked as a graphic designer, and the two went hand in hand. There were a lot of things that I learned out in the field that I didn't learn in school. And there were a lot of things that I learned in school that I didn't necessarily use out in the field. But ultimately, it's given me this really big, canopy of knowledge on the subject that I'm able to, share with you, and again, helps me expand my own knowledge of graphic design. If you are going to be a graphic designer, you never stop learning. It is one of those careers where you are constantly evolving, because the minute you stop learning as a graphic designer is the minute that you're going to stop getting jobs. It's as plain and simple as that, because design can get outdated so quickly. You need to be up to date on, what's the style now? What are people doing now? What's this? What's that? What's in, what's out? And the only way to do that is to completely keep yourself immersed in the design world and keep learning from everything you see that's happening in the design world. So ultimately, it would be great for you to get an A, but if you can't do anything past following a demo, that A is not going to get you a job. And I've seen students who do A work, and I can tell that they think outside of the box. So I don't want you to think like, oh, well, I got an A, Huh? No, there are students who do A work, and they are thinking creatively. They're thinking like a designer. I've seen students who do B or C work, but they're thinking like a designer, and the only reason they got a B or C is that they missed a couple of things that were part of the rubric, but overall had a very strong design. You know, I can only go so far with you as a teacher. The rest of it has to come from you. And that's, stepping outside of your comfort zone, trying new things. And sometimes when you try those new things, it's going to be a flop. But you're not going to learn if you are not trying. So again, how do you see yourself using Photoshop in your career? Do you think that you might be somebody who creates original artwork? Or do you think you're going to be somebody who does photo retouching and editing? There's a lot of different jobs out there for both of those, kind of that fork in the road. There's jobs for basically, anything. You saw some of the work that I've shared with you. Some of my freelance work that paid pretty well didn't take me that long. It just happened to be that I have pretty good Photoshop skills, and I know how to make things look realistic and not look as though they were Photoshopped. I don't do a lot of freelance work these days. I know, crazy, where I already have 2 jobs and, 2 kids, and I'm finishing up a degree. Why don't I do freelance work? But, from time to, when I was doing freelance work, I was making a pretty good hourly rate doing it. And I always told my clients, it's like a minimum of 3 hours on my billing and stuff like that. But I was able to get the work done fast for them, because if they're paying you by the hour, they're not going to pay you for 20 hours of something that should have taken 2 hours. So, you got to be on top of your game if you're going to do freelance. And, there's so many different ways that you can use, Photoshop in your career. I'm just going to pull up my Behance page for a second just to kind of show you. Where are we? So here's some, here's some different Photoshop work that I have done. Why are you not? There we go. So this was actually my friend. It's her daughter. She was down, in Florida for a vacation, and she was like, can you do me a favor? Can you take my arm out of the photo so it looks like she's just sitting on the beach? And I said to her, I'm like, yeah, I'll do you one better. I'm going to color correct it for you. I'm going to take these people that I'm assuming you don't know out of the photo, and I'll take your arm out. So it ended up being this when I was done. And she was like, wow, how'd you do that? And I said, I know you guys forget this, but it is what I do for a job. This is one that I was paid for, and it was for a light bulb company, and basically they just wanted me to make some promotional pieces and add them to stock photos so it looks like the people are sitting there possibly looking at the finally light bulb, website on their phone next to a little sticker that happens to be at the hip coffee shop telling about the product, or, right here, like, because maybe this place uses their light bulbs, or right here at this hotel because they use their light bulbs, or here hanging at Home Depot, like, these are our light bulbs, something like that. And then this one was kind of funny too. Like, this is a girl I used to work with there, and she's like, can you take me out of this photo, please? So, because we're going to put these at the store, but I had to hold it up so you could see where they go. So I took her out and I just added in some more paper towels, and I added their logo to it to show what it would look like, finished at Staples. And then the same thing here, they had put these around the store, but they weren't ready to go. They didn't have the logo on it. So I told them, yeah, that's no problem. And I put the logo on it and skewed it correctly, and then, put even the light bulb picture. This is one where they took one photo with one light bulb packaging, but they wanted to show the different light bulbs that they had. So what I had to do was go in and remake the packaging for the 60 watt, the 100 watt, and the 75 watt. So it looked like the product was there. And the same thing here, 100 watt, 75 watt, 60 watt. 100 watt, 75 watt, 60 watt. And I only had one package to go off of, so I just had to go in there and match some fonts, match the lighting when it was all put together, and fix, you know, even the information on the box over here, and make sure it all matched up to their packaging. This was another thing for them. They had me do a lot of like little Photoshop things. It was always fun, where that was the old setup, this was the new one, the panel changed, and then they took a picture of this and they were like, can you clean this up so it looks better? And so I turned it into this. This one was the most work, I would say. And then they, you know, they used to ask me, can you make it look like this or make it look like that? And yeah, I did a lot of work for them, but there's a lot of work out there if you are, you know, good at Photoshop, basically. So we went over a lot of tools and techniques this mod. We went over using the shape layers and the bucket tool in week 1, and the paint brushes and those selection tools. Then in week 2, we started to fix some photos by healing and using the clone stamp, the patch tool, the content aware tool, and some adjustment layers. In week 3 and week 2, we created masks and quick masks. We did clipping adjustments, layers to masks, some blending modes. We have done a lot. Think of where you were at the beginning of this class, first opening up Photoshop, first time you ever opened up the program, and think of what you put together for your assignment last week. And then stand up and do a bow, because seriously, that is so crazy how far you guys have progressed in 3 weeks, right? Like, you opened up Photoshop for the first time and you were like, I don't know. And then you went from that to completely compositing 4 images together last week. And they were hysterical. So you definitely deserve a round of applause for everything that you have learned this mod, for sure. All right, so these are our objectives for this week. Don't forget the week 4 media, that pre-recorded session with Carly, week 4 lecture 1. There's also lynda.com instructional videos. We're going to go over the discussion, assignment, and assessment. Be sure that you're reading the background information, the prompts, and the directions carefully this week. So in the week 4 lecture with Carly, you're going to go over appropriate resolutions for print and web, the 4 main principles of design. We call them CRAP, which is contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Laying out your design using guides and grids, using asymmetrical and symmetrical balance, using the rule of thirds, using visual hierarchy, and then communicating through design. You know, some strategy reminders, technique demo for different options like clipping images and shapes or text, blending pictures together, adding text, comparing options, grouping layers and making selective adjustments, gradient maps, creating a contact sheet to compare options, and then additional, you know, duotones, tri and quad tones even. My husband is, sorry about that. It like totally broke my concentration. My husband just sent me a text that came across my watch. He was like, I'm just thinking of how good that dinner that I made last night. I'm like, all right, I'm busy. Stop talking about food, right? All right, and then for our discussion for week 4, why don't we just hop on over into the course and we'll go over that discussion. Now I'm hungry.